I want to always to find stories that will connect the poor world with our world, because I see a very close connection between the way of our life. I mean that it has consequences for people elsewhere, and when you are here in the Western world, it very often some places like Africa, it seems very far away, and it seems like it has very little to do with us, you know. So for me, I want to kind of make this connection, and so when I first heard about this theme, it was a producer who heard a rumor about it in Tanzania actually, and he started to look into it, and he asked if I wanted to direct a film about it, and I immediately said yes, because I thought this was a very good way of making it very relevant and concrete for people here, because everybody has a mobile phone, so everybody can relate to this, you know.
And how much time take you to do this documentary?
I think he approached me 4 years ago now, so I've been doing other things also, but we used more than a year just to get the first financing. Then I was doing development and financing for a year and a half, and then we were producing for a year, and then now we are. So it takes
and the ideas you have when you began to prepare the story, you have confirmed these ideas during the work?
Sorry?
When the idea you have when you begin all this documentary has been confirmed with the things you have discovered going to there? Or
yes, I mean that when I went the first time into Congo, I went also to see is it really true what I've been reading in UN reports and other places. How is this condition really that bad? And I must say that it was even worse than I had expected. The way that these people are living, way out in the jungle under the most horrific circumstances, and with many of them being children and all this, that was really confirmed, you might say. But then I thought that because I wanted to take kind of a personal approach. I wanted to use the fact that I'm a mobile consumer myself, and to go to my phone company and say and ask questions. And I always considered my phone company, which is Nokia, to be a very socially responsible company. So my idea was, I thought that they would be open to talk to me about how they were dealing with this problem, you know. But that didn't get confirmed. I mean, they were very close. It took me more than a year, where I was trying to persuade them to take part of my film. I called them every week for a year, and not even once did I get anybody on the phone who could just discuss the possibility of participating in this film. All the time I got receptionists that would transfer me, refer me to spokespersons from communication department, and they just consequently never picked up the phone. So I left a message, they didn't call back. If I left many messages, they would send me 2-line email declining being part of my project, oftenly saying that giving the excuse that they didn't have the resources. And that's a bit strange, since they are one of the biggest companies in the world, So, I mean, of course they had the resources if they wanted to. So at the end, I went to Finland, and I walked into the reception insisting that they will give me some answers.
Blood on the mobiles. Who's that blood? At which person are these blood?
It's the Congolese. I mean, for many years there's been war in the Eastern Congo, but when the mobile industry really boomed, when everybody started having phones 15 years ago, the price for the minerals that was extracted in Congo, that you used to make these phones, kind of skyrocketed, So and the war, from being about social and ethnic issues, very quickly became a race or a competition of who is controlling which mines in order to make all these monies, And so this has really been the fuel on the conflict for the last 15 years, and it's estimated that around 5 million people, and even more maybe than 5 million people, died as a consequence of this war. And many of the armed groups who are fighting for control of these mines, they use rape as a tactical weapon. So they will rape all women they meet on their way. So it's estimated that more than 300,000 women have been raped in the same period. And just to give you a perspective of, I mean, what we're talking about, we all remember Haiti last year. There was an earthquake there, and everybody knows that there was really many people who died and even more suffered. But in terms of casualties, in terms of people dying, what is happening in Congo is a Haiti every third month for the last 15 years. So it's considered the most bloody war since Second World War.
And this is this decreasing, or it continues at the same time, the same way?
It's going on every week almost. I get reports from Congo about new rapes, new killings. You know. Many of the people dying in Congo, they don't die from bullets in the war. They die from the consequences of war, that they have to flee, that they run into the jungle, and then they die from dysentery or diseases that could easily be healed, or just from hunger simply. There's been a lot of breakout of cholera in some of these areas, and so it's like all the consequences that war comes with. That's what really kills the most people.
In the documentary, we see children working in a very rude conditions. Nobody can stop that.
Sorry?
Nobody can stop that or change that.
I don't believe that. I think that of course we can stop that. These armed groups that are controlling these areas, they're doing it because they can make so much money. If companies like Nokia and a few other big companies said, okay, from now on we won't source from this area, then they wouldn't be able to make the same kind of money. It wouldn't have the same interest for them, and we have seen that in other places. In Sierra Leone, for instance, the war there was very much about blood diamonds, and as the Kimberley process, that was a certification of diamonds, really moved forward, it ended the war in Sierra Leone. That doesn't mean that they don't have child labor, that they don't have all kinds of issues with poverty and all this kind of thing. But in order to start to solve these problems, you need to stop the war first, because as it is right now, as you can see in my film, not even the UN soldiers will go into these areas because they're too unsecure. And when the situation is like that, nothing will change. So in order to start to solve the problems, you need to end the war first.
And the war is, I guess, more than only for the control of the mines. There are other reasons. No?
Originally, it was social and ethnic reasons, but also if you look at this, in my film, it was also important for me to have the historical perspective, because the history of this area has very much to do with us also. I mean, it's not a coincidence that they have tribal war there. I mean, the whole what you see in Rwanda, this whole genocide between the Hutu and Tutsis, this whole division into Hutu and Tutsis, that's actually made by the colony powers. They didn't have this tribal difference before the white man came and decided that, okay, you are the tall ones and you are the other ones. So we will give you privileges and not you. So this whole tribal issue is also created by the white man. And of course, at some point we have to say, okay, now we have to move forward and we have to start, and they cannot blame, or they cannot excuse themselves with slavery anymore. It's so many years ago. But just when I think about Denmark, how much it means to the Danish national identity that we were occupied by the Germans during Second World War, just for 5 years. This was a peaceful occupation. It was nobody died, and it was only 5 years, and it still it still has so much to do with our national identity. So what do you imagine 150 years of slavery does to a nation, and how many generations it takes for a nation to get over such a trauma. So that's one thing. And you could also say that, okay, if that was just the only thing, but at the same time I think the situation in many ways hasn't changed very much. I mean, we don't have the colony powers anymore in Africa. It's not imperialism. Today it's just raw capitalism, but the outcome is the same. they will have all the, we will get all the goods, and they will be left with poverty and in many cases also armed conflict, and we can point fingers at corrupt African leaders and say, oh, it's their fault. But if we are stealing all their natural resources, I think that we have to sweep in front of our own door before we, complain about others. Coltan you can find many places. Also in Australia, they have been having industrialized mines who, that were extracting these minerals. So it's easy to get, or maybe not easy, but it's possible to get in many other places. So it's not like that they have to get it from Congo. And they would be able to, of course it has something to do with price. Huh? Of course it's easier to let somebody fight over it and let the children dig it out and then you can buy it cheap. That's one thing is that we have a very particular situation in the Congo. But if we will see this resolved by, for instance, that they will go to Brazil to get it or other places, we will have to follow up on that and see that if these companies want to call themselves socially responsible, then of course it's not good enough just to go to Brazil and use child labor. Of course they also have to implement to make sure that is not no children is being exploited, and also I think the most important thing is that these minerals should first of all benefit the local population, either if it's Congo or Brazil or anywhere. That big companies should start, because they are really not nowadays. They should start paying taxes for the natural resources that they are taking from all over the poor world.
The thing is, how make conscious the people that this
how
is...
to raise awareness with the people.
That this happens, because these days we have done a mobile congress in Barcelona, 60,000 people in there, and nobody seems to bother about Anyway, the presentation of your documentary yesterday was a big success, so that means something, no?
Yeah, but that was also preaching for the converted, wasn't it? I mean, many of the people who goes to such a screening, they are already agreed that we should, take more care of. But I think that's for me. That was why I thought that this was such a great opportunity for a film, because everybody has a mobile phone and everybody can relate to this, and like 5 million dead and child labor, it's a very clear example of how our world is today. And I think that you couldn't, for me this is just a slice sample of the globalized world as it is today. You could make this film about my rubber shoes, so many things that would implement bad working conditions and child labor.
So bad as Congo?
Excuse me?
Do you think it's the same?
No, maybe it's not that bad with the war and the conflict, but you'll have this inequality. You will find this in so many cases. Also, here in Spain, in Denmark, we eat a lot of vegetables that is grown in the southern Spain, and who's growing them, who's collecting them? As I hear it, it's a lot of illegal workers from Africa, And people in Denmark, they are complaining that they have to pay €2 for. 3 pepper fruits or something like that. But and when people talk about that, I say, okay, but how? What do you expect? Who's going to? If somebody's going to grow this for you, you don't want to pay them for their work, And this is, I think, for me, to raise awareness is to find. We always have to look for the clear-cut cases, where you can really say, okay, look how unjust the world is, and we really have to move in another direction, And then we will just, I think that we will just try to. For me, it's a question of, we will have to fight for more and more people to be aware of these issues and to start to think, okay, when is enough? How rich do we have to be in order to start, look into other people's lives, And I don't know. It seems like there is a tendency. The richer people get, the more they don't care about other people. The more self-absorbed they become,
Nokia didn't answer. Who can force these companies to give an answer to this question?
The good thing about these companies is that they are very weak on their public figure, That a company like Nokia, all that is a brand. They don't produce their phones themselves. They get somebody else in China to do that. At the end of the day, it's just a brand. And that's their whole business, So what you, if you start to throw, Congolese child blood at this this brand, then they'll be nervous. Then they'll have to react. They're very fragile towards this their image in the public because they are so dependent on people to like them and to go and buy their products. So you can always attack this weak point, But I think there's a point in attacking it, but I don't think that it's Nokia who's going to solve this problem. As I've been going into it, I mean, they are writing up and down on their homepage, page up, page down, about how socially responsible they are. You get the feeling that half the corporation is working with social responsibility when you look at their homepage. But when I go there and I talk to the director, he looks like a 14-year-old boy. And I mean, if they really were, going into this, they would find somebody who was a little bit more, powerful, or have some more, pondus, or how you say, in order to. For me, it seems like a commercial stunt. I mean, it's something they do to look good, but they don't really. I mean, they are in the business to make money. That's it. And so I think that the conclusion must be that if we leave the market to be run, if the market is free, then it will be run by the one who. So the agenda will be set by the ones who are the most willing to be the most cruel and the most greedy. So I think that the conclusion is that we need regulation. We need to regulate the market. We need to make laws. I mean, we all agree that it's a good idea to have society, that we have certain rules. You can't kill each other. You can't drive faster than this on the highway. I mean, everybody agrees on that it's a good idea. And I think it would be just suitable to have laws that would say that it's not allowed to use child labor, and it's not allowed to use minerals or any natural resources that is causing conflict other places in the world. And you should be able to be punished for that here in Europe. If you are the CEO of Nokia, for instance, it should be possible to prosecute you if you don't know who is making your products. You should know as a big company, you should know your supply chain. And if you don't, you should be dragged into court and imprisoned. That's my opinion.
And how many documentaries as yours are needed to obtain that?
I think that my documentary is just a small. It's just a small contribution in this connection. While now you see, we are sitting here talking. I've been making interviews all day, but it is not because I made this film. It's because these NGOs who are working here in Barcelona, they are really, they've been working with this for a long time. We have organizations like Make IT Fair, Global Witness, and in the US, Reso for Congo, who has been working with this for years and years. And this is why this is popping up on the agenda. I just make a film. It can be a good tool in that collaboration, but it's not. But it's not the documentary. I mean, documentary can be part of changing the world, but it can't. I mean, the documentary in itself just explains the problem. It doesn't really change anything, does it?
And do you feel culpable, guilty when you use your mobile?
Well, I feel guilty being part of the rich world and not, No, I would say it's not that I wake up crying every morning. I think that, but I feel guilty in a way that I feel that I have to do something. I feel that I have to make this kind of film in order not to feel guilty. You know what I mean? And that I have to, as long as I think that I'm trying to fight for a more just world, I can live with myself. But I have also had periods of my life where I, for instance, couldn't make these kind of travels because of family reasons, small children and all this. And in these periods of my life, I've been, I get more and more frustrated. I get kind of bitter. I go to a party and my friends, they're talking about, complaining about how their new car has a problem or, whatever, and I just becomes like this annoying person saying, "Oh, we have it. It's so hard to be living in the Western world." Being sarcastic, and I can really feel when I'm making films like this, I don't have to be sarcastic with my friends. I can relax and I can take it out through my job.
But it's clear that people cannot live without mobiles or computers.
Absolutely. I don't think that's the solution. Is not turning back to the Stone Age, is it? I mean, that won't even help the Congolese at all. I think the solution is that we start to trade in a fair way with the third world, because then we will also solve the problem of poverty, because we are extracting so much natural resources from the third world. So that would easily take everybody out of poverty if we just paid a fair price for these things.